I'm bored. You know what? Screw that. Okay, so this isn't just a Jesterbell debunking video. This is me talking about all of the chuds, all of these channels trying to push this narrative, this fake narrative that Superman is some massive flop. It's a massive flop, and the studio is scrambling, and James Gunn is pulling his hair out, and they're all worried, and blah, 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 etc., etc. They have to push this narrative because they will not just simply admit that Superman is performing well and that people enjoy the movie. They can't just admit that. They can't do that. So they have to paint a narrative. So this isn't me just debunking Jesterbell. What I want to do in this video is I want to talk about debunking all of the narratives around the Superman movie because it's gotten absolutely ridiculous. Let's get into this.
Hi, everyone. Jesterbell here, aka Female Frodo Baggins. I'm just doing a very quick video on Superman, just a little update. I apologize, so many videos on the box.
Just another update. Just another update. Okay. Let's. What are you updating us on? Are you going to talk about facts? That would be an update. You make it seem like you're a news reporter. You guys aren't reporting the news. You're not reporting stuff. You're framing narratives. It's not an update.
Box office updates of superhero movies. I feel like it's all this channel is becoming about. But there's something that is bothering me about the narrative around the Superman movie.
The narrative. While you're painting a narrative, there's something is bothering her about the narrative of the Superman movie while you're literally yourself, you and all of these other channels are painting narratives about this one and Fantastic Four, and you won't let it go.
That I feel like I've been lied to about the film. I feel like
facts are not feelings. Facts are not feelings. When we're talking about box office numbers and we're looking at math, there's no other, like you can't spin it another way. This is publicly available information. It's publicly available. There's interviews, there's articles, there's actual numbers out there. This is, these guys, like not just her, but all of them are so absolutely scummy and disingenuous.
Everyone has been lied to, and I don't like this misrepresentation of what has actually gone on with this movie.
You don't like misrepresentation? You and your cohorts are the kingdom of misrepresentation. You guys, you own it. It's your identity. Misrepresentation, the musical, on Broadway right now. That's what you're in.
And its success, or perhaps lack thereof. So let's just get right into it. Superman is releasing on digital to purchase Friday, the Friday after this recording, only 35 days after it was released in theaters. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculously close for this movie. And I've seen a lot of cope from people online about why Warner Brothers is doing this and trying to defend exactly why they would be doing this, because everyone understands that that basically means that Superman's run at the box office is done. When you release a movie on digital, that is completely kneecapping whatever legs it could have at the box office at the end.
Okay, so she's totally skipping over the fact that this is a standard now in Hollywood. The longer theatrical window, I don't know why I'm even explaining this because this is all in bad faith, but I'm just going to do this. The theatrical window in Hollywood is much shorter than it was before. Matter of fact, we'll do this tab right here. Los Angeles Times here, this is from April of this year, talks about theatrical windows being shortened by quite a bit. Viewers may wait longer, at least 45 days to watch movies on the couch, because it was actually shorter than that before. So 30 to 45 is the new window now for movies to come out. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good thing, but I'm certainly not going to go out there and be like, this is why the movie is a failure because it's releasing so soon after it came out in the box office. No, 30 to 45 seems to be the going rate for movies released on digital VOD right now. And so framing this as like, the movie has to be a failure, causation, correlation shit. The movie has to be a failure. It must be a failure because they're releasing it within that window of time that like all large movies are typically releasing in now, with a few outliers, a few exceptions. It seems like the vast majority, the standard now, is this 30 to 45 day window, is crazy. It's crazy to even frame it that way. And this is just yet again another way they paint narratives when they're talking about box offices for movies. Let's continue.
Well, usually when they release it on digital, it means that they know that there's not going to be any more to be had at the box office. But let's get into it.
No, sometimes they leave them in the box office. There is, again, an industry thing now where you release something on digital and it still stays in the box office. It makes a little bit of money in the box office while it's still making money on streaming. This is just we don't have to like this, but you can, acting like it's abnormal is crazy.
I've been being told for weeks now, ever since Superman came out, that it is actually a success. A great start for this new DC universe, and that it made its money back, and that it is a great foundation for the future.
It's actually probably done more than made its money back, but Anyway, continue.
Universe. James Gunn even recently lashed out at a person online who would dare question.
Yeah, the person that's in charge, James Gunn and Peter Safran, the two people in charge of this division of films for Warner Brothers, is saying that it's a success. That they are publicly saying that with all their investors watching. Everybody that's put money into this, all the advertisers connected to it, everybody that's getting paid through paychecks from Warner Brothers because of this movie, all of the profits that'll be made with the extra box office deals that probably went into some of the actors' pockets, all of them are the money's coming from nowhere. It's imaginary money. Like this, Warner Brothers is literally, while they're also just now getting around, turning things around the ship, they've decided they're going to spend money out of their own pockets to make it seem like something is a success for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Because if they're going to do it for this one, why didn't they do it for all the other failures they've had? When they actually had money. When they actually had money to burn. Why are they doing it specifically for this one? Like, there's all these like conspiracy theory things that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense in any reality.
That this movie is not a success at the box office. They wouldn't be that foolish to release a film, the first film in a franchise, to not be successful at the box office. Well, I can guarantee you guys are that foolish. All due respect.
Okay, well, I want you to give examples, and they have to be a proper, not a false equivalency. So give examples that proves that Warner Brothers specifically, or even maybe James Gunn and Peter Safran, have in the past falsified numbers for movies that they've released in order to make them look good. You have to provide proof of that because that's the only proof that matters. So now that burden of proof lands on your shoulders. You can't just say that and not provide proof. So I want to hear if you have some actual proof. I haven't watched this video yet, so maybe she does. Let's go.
But the thing about James Gunn, and talking to fans about this, is James Gunn has lied, and he has lied a lot. And so after a bit of debate on exactly when Superman was going to come out on digital, with one thing saying that it would be the 26th, which is still pretty early. It's releasing this Friday, 35 days after its release in theaters. And ladies and gentlemen, that is less time. 10 days less time than the Batman's window that had a 45-minute window from theaters to streaming, which they had announced as the film was coming out, which to this day, people think is the reason that the Batman might have been kneecapped at the box office. So, I mean, let's just bring up what releasing a film early on digital even...
So there was no proof. He lied. Guess what? He doesn't decide that. James Gunn and Peter Safran are not the people that have the final say on when something comes out on VOD. This is why actors and directors and stuff have actually had to go out and sue companies or have public arguments with companies that release their films in certain ways, right? Do you remember the whole debacle with Dune? Remember that? The whole Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow stuff, all of that. Like actors, directors, people that do this do not have control over that. So James Gunn being told that the release is going to be this specific time and then the studio changing its mind about when that release comes out has nothing to do with him. He is not the person that makes that decision. You skipped over that completely. And saying he lied about it, that's your proof that he was wrong about the date? That's it? That's your cold, hard proof?
Means, because I saw the most ridiculous comment from the Canadian lad that said, I apologize, calling them out, but they said that, well, the reason why this is happening is that WB must be happy with what this movie has done at the box office. They're so satisfied with it and they're putting it on streaming. No, that is not why movies go to streaming and to digital.
Okay, so if you're going to give a reason why, I'm going to provide counter evidence to this, but I want to see what you say the reason is. Let's see what she says.
Really. You have to understand the entire reason why movies released in theaters started to go on streaming and digital so early is because of COVID and because of studios panicking about recouping their losses on film. So they were scared during, say, 2021 that films released in theaters still weren't going to make a lot of money.
That's not totally inaccurate, but get to your point.
And so they would release them day and date on streaming. That is what HBO Max especially was famous for doing, and which destroyed a lot of their relationships with talent. After that, there became this pattern where if you would put out a movie in the theater and it wouldn't do well, they would shove it on streaming. Why would they do this? Because, well, if a movie isn't going to make much at the box office, then put it on streaming as fast as possible so you can try to recoup your losses on that. And the reason why this was controversial and why it was very negative for the industry is it devalued the theater experience. It told people theater experience doesn't really matter. These movies are just going to be on.
Right. So what you're explaining is the problem that Hollywood has in general now. Again, this isn't specific to Superman. You are making the case against what you're saying here, right? You're talking specifically about them lying about Superman's success. And then you're establishing that this is a systemic problem within Hollywood when it comes to releasing films this way. Okay? You are providing evidence against your claim. I don't think you realize that. But let me point this out. If you're saying that Hollywood has a history now of doing this and kneecapping their movies, that's just the standard they have, then there's no reason for me to believe that Superman is a weird outlier where they have extended the theatrical window well beyond the 45-day mark for most movies, but then they shifted around and changed it specifically for Superman because it's not performing well. You are actually making the opposite argument. You're countering your own argument here. So let's see how you get back to it.
Digital a couple weeks later if you don't like the film enough to see it in the theater. And it completely messed up Hollywood's model of doing things, where originally they would soak up all the money that they could at the theaters, wait, get it out on physical and digital, and soak up more money there. There was a pattern to it, and that's how they would make their money. And they started to devalue the theater experience to make it all digital. And so that actually kneecapped what these movies could do in the theaters, because they started to train people that this is just going to be on.
This is perfectly dismantling your initial argument. You're doing this for me. This is making it extremely easy for me. She's explaining why there's a problem with a shorter theatrical window in Hollywood, and it's all over the place. So if that is a systemic problem that affects films regardless of success, which is what we're seeing, then she cannot argue that this particular window, a 35-day window for Superman, means anything. It's just the industry standard at the moment.
Digital in a couple weeks. So what happened is studios have actually gradually moved away from that back to longer and longer windows.
That's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, let me just double check here. Here's an article over at Deadline where they're talking about how theatrical windows have been shorter. This is an article from 2025, I believe March of 2025, again, still this year, talking about the instability of windows when it comes to movie releases. And it says, from bouncing around confuses customers. We'd like to see the windows stabilize. We think there's confusion among the moviegoers public as to how long movies are going to be in theaters. It kind of varies from film to film. It's just not a way to reach audiences. They don't know from one weekend to what the next what's available, how long is it going to be available, where can I see it? We think that theatrical exclusivity is core to the success of the entire industry. It's not just exhibition, but in order to see studios getting the chance to recoup their investment. So the windows in 2025 in general have been shorter. The industry, that is from the industry, right? The industry, the theater industry is suffering from this. They're talking about it. This is a standard thing. It's not changed in 2025. If anything, it's gotten worse. We're seeing other movies come out even quicker. Smurfs is getting released like right away. It's been in theaters less time than Superman. It's already coming out on digital. So my point here is that you have to establish that Superman is the outlier. How does that window compare to other movies' windows this year based on their box office, based on how much money they estimately made in their film? You're not comparing any numbers at all. You could just do one comparison. You could just do one. I would do it. I would sit over here and do the math for you, but I'm not going to. The burden is on your shoulders. You're not providing that. Therefore, you are not adding any extra evidence to your claim. Zero evidence to your claim. Matter of fact, you've had counter evidence to your claim.
From the theaters to digital. Even Disney, with all their bombs this year, has not rushed to get them out on streaming afterwards, probably because Disney has more money and they can handle it. But
so when we talk about industry standard and outliers, you have to look at individual studios and what they're doing as well. So you'd want to compare things that the studios have released in the past with whatever they're releasing currently. Like for Marvel, it'd be Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts, and then Fantastic Four, right? So this article here talks about that theatrical window. And it says here, tracking only wide releases, they found the length of theatrical exclusivity from cinema to PVOD was around 27 days in 2021, 38 in 2022, 39 in 2023, and then 37 in 2024. So they've shifted a little bit, but look at these, 39, 37. This is all within like an industry standard. This is the industry as a whole, not an individual studio. It says they also found that the top 20 grossing films averaged 43 days in 2024, and just over half of those films that opened above the 50 million mark held on to windows of at least 45 days. So at least 45 days, because here's the thing, theaters are asking for 45 days. That's what they're saying. Give us 45 days exclusivity to movies before you release them. And Hollywood has been ignoring that. But right here it says, of the studios, Disney is the one with the longest theatrical exclusivity window of all the major studios. 61 days, which is 20 days longer than any other studio. So Disney is an outlier to the industry standard, meaning that everyone else is kind of falling into that bubble. Disney is not. So you're using Disney as a cherry-picked example to paint your narrative and to paint your argument, instead of actually talking about what the industry standard was every single year. Let's continue.
Warner Brothers does not have that luxury. They are massively in debt. Still, they have had a lot of successes at the theater.
So they're massively in debt, but somehow they're paying everyone involved with the production of a movie with magical money. Do you understand how illogical that sounds? How would they have all of this money to pay everyone, all of their bonuses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if they were lying about the movie being successful? Think about that for a moment. Just for a second, think about that.
There's this year with Minecraft and Sinners, which got a long window between theaters and streaming. But Superman, and remember, even though...
By the way, Warner Brothers is actually, last time I checked, they are more profitable this year than Disney is. Slightly more profitable. They're close, but they're just slightly above Disney in overall profits this year. So they're not totally broke. I know she said they were, and at one point they were, but it seems like they're turning the ship around this year. I talked about that several videos ago.
Batman got a 45-day window, and people said that that was way too short and that might have kneecapped the film. Superman is going out on digital just 35 days, a month practically.
Which is around the industry standard right now, as we established.
After it was released. Ladies and gentlemen, to respond to that comment about they must be satisfied with how it's done at the box office and they throw it on streaming, that never happens. When Barbie was coming out in theaters and making so much money, they didn't go, well, it's made $600 million at this point. We're fine with it. Shove it on streaming. When Top Gun Maverick was doing so well in theaters, they didn't go, oh, well, we're good with 500 million, 700 million. Let's get it out of theaters and put it on streaming. No, they never did that, because when movies are truly doing well at the theater and they truly have legs and are going to continue to make money, they leave them in there for as long as possible before taking them out and planning when they're going to come on streaming. That's
Exhibit A. Since we're cherry picking, I'm going to use this example here. Theatrical windows keep shrinking. The 2023 average is now 30 days. The Super Mario Brothers movie bucked to the trend and made it to 41 days. That's right. Super Mario Brothers, a massively, massively successful movie, went to VOD streaming in 41 days. And that's just one example. My point here is that anyone can cherry pick individual outliers and then go, this is the standard. That's not how you do standards. Standards are you add a bunch of things together and then you create an average out of that. That's how you do a standard. You don't just go, hey, here's one or two movies that did the thing that I'm trying to paint the narrative for, and therefore it makes me correct. It makes me right. It makes me accurate. This is called framing. And it's bad framing. It's bad faith framing on her part to pretend like every movie that has done well doesn't go to streaming prior to that 45-day window. That is false.
That's what happens when a movie is truly successful. Movies go on streaming when they are unsuccessful and when the studio needs to recuperate their losses. That is what happens. Superman would not be going on streaming this early in an era where they are fighting to get away from that unless they needed more money out of it and they wanted that money now.
Okay, so she wants to speculate. Let's speculate with possibly the real reason why this is happening. Brett Johnson here, host of the Brett Johnson Show, a cybercrime show, talked about the fact that there is a very high quality rip of Superman that has been circulating online and it's getting even more traction, and it could possibly affect money they would make on VOD if they wait too long to release it. So the studio has been monitoring this. They know this is going on. Trust me, these places know when this stuff is happening. And they're looking at this and they're going, you know what? If we don't jump on top of this soon, a lot of people they're going to have already watched it online, either through clips, YouTube videos, things like that, rips they can find on unsavory websites, things of that nature. A lot of people are very savvy about this now. They're worried about it hurting the dollar they could make on releasing their film on VOD in high quality, which is why they're attaching things like a documentary and stuff like that. They're trying all these things to get people to watch the official release, because this is a big problem. This is an industry problem. Movies getting ripped and uploaded illegally to the internet has affected the sales of so many movies over the last few years. It's become a big industry problem. There's tons of studies on it. There's tons of people that have talked about it. This seems like the most logical reason why they jumped ahead of the line a little bit to get this movie out as quickly as possible, even though it is doing well in theaters, so that they can still make some money on VOD before this becomes, it goes everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, it's already a problem. This was from a month ago. It's already an issue. They're trying their best to mitigate this by releasing their own high quality version for people to watch at home. This is something we have to battle on the other side of just what the theatrical windows are for films. This seems like a more logical reason than, oh, they're covering up how much actual money the movie's made at the box office. This seems like a more logical reason. But let's see where you go with the rest of your video.
There's no other explanation for why this is happening. And I don't know what says about everyone behind the scenes doesn't understand how box office works, because James Gunn has fibbed a lot before. Again,
how has he lied specifically about something that correlates with that statement? Has he lied about something and been caught in a lie? Like, has he said, my movie made $1 billion, but it actually only made $700 million, and he was taken to court by investors for lying about it? Because if that's never happened, then there's no correlation to him lying about people not understanding the box office. I agree with him. We don't always understand. Like, this is... all we know is what's estimated and given to us.
It would simply not be doing this unless they hadn't gotten enough money from it yet, knew that it wasn't going to make more money because it already has fallen to like 6th place at the box office. There isn't much more to be made.
I mean, is she a business major? I don't even know. Like, what is your credentials for calling someone a liar based on financial information? Are you some sort of expert on it? Like, what are your credentials? You don't even provide sources or articles or information about anything you're saying. Nothing whatsoever. And this is the same with all of these guys, whether it be Nerdrotic or Geeks and Gamers or Critical Drinker. Any information they provide is usually like, oh, look at this shot from Box Office Mojo or this article from that Park Place or something like that. All of these sources that don't really back up their claims or dive any deeper than just the surface level. And then you get people like Jesterbell and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers who don't even bother to pull up articles. It's a struggle for me to understand why you guys listen to this. Why would you pay attention to something like this? They don't know any more than you know.
And they're putting it on streaming because they want to recuperate those losses. Superman will not make more than Man of Steel, not even close. It might not even get to 600 million because of this. They definitely, and like, I don't know how much money this movie needed behind the scenes.
All right, we're going to stop it there. We're going to stop it there. You didn't know how much money this movie needed to make behind the scenes, but you're also telling everyone that's watching your video that it is a certified flop because they're releasing it to home and digital release because it's not making any money. But you don't know how much money it needed to make behind the scenes. Fam, this is so absolutely and utterly frustrating. And this Superman Fantastic Four discourse will probably go on for another 2 or 3 months until they can't milk the cow anymore, until there's no milk left in the cow, because there's nothing else for them to talk about or complain about right now. So this is where we are. This is where we are. You just admitted that you don't know how much money they needed to make, which means that this video and every video you've made about this is just... you're admitting that it's bullshit. You're admitting that it's bullshit. This proves my point. This is what I've been saying the whole fucking time, is that all we know is estimated numbers. We don't know what's going on until we see the return on investment numbers, which won't happen for months. We won't know that for months. And we might not ever know the full amount of return on investment because not all of it is public knowledge. That's all I got for you today.